Hi, it is I, Alyssa. I also go by Lyss or Alsira, whichever is okay. This video will be talking about an album that hasn't been confirmed or announced yet from one of my favorite bands, Wage War. This video will be based on facts and pure speculation, so I could be very, very wrong when the events unfold. Before I continue with this video, however, I have to address this. I did not realize how much an escape video essays became for me. I just became so disconnected from reality. And we can't afford that, especially in this climate. There's a lot of horrible shit going on, especially in the US. Media is political, music is political, art is political, it is resistance. Nicole Good was a mother, a wife, and a poet who was shot in the head by an ICE agent. There are several narratives trying to put the blame on her, and with the rise of AI, it gets difficult to get down to the truth. The truth is, ICE agents are taking people off the streets without warrants, without adhering to federal judgments, without due process, without even looking into their background, per se. And it's startling how people are staying back and watching their neighbors either get taken away or never seen again, or get killed right in front of their eyes. Nicole Good was not the first person to be killed by ICE agents. It should be noted that she was not in custody. I believe the first case of someone who was not in custody and was killed by ICE agents was Keith Porter Jr. on December 31st, 2025. He was killed by an off-duty ICE agent over claims that Keith Porter Jr. was shooting his gun in the air several times. However, there was not any evidence to prove that. I think we know why Nicole's murder was more publicized, and so was Alex Petty's. If you are an American like me and you think you're safe because this shit won't happen to you, trust me, it's going to happen to you, and you need to decide what you'll do in this situation. I will be attaching links regarding the issues. Please take care of yourselves. Now, back to regular programming. A little intro about me. As I said before, I'm Alyssa. I'm 27. I live in New York, born and raised. I'm an indie author and digital artist. I take commissions via Ko-Fi. All links supporting me will be in the link tree in the description down below. Self-published 2 poetry books, Kaleidoscope and Death Rose, available via Amazon and Barnes & Noble. I have a bachelor's in English, concentrating in creative writing, with a minor in film and video studies, as well as a master's of fine arts in creative writing. I am not an expert on the English language, English literature, nor the craft of writing or video productions. It should also be noted that I do not have a degree related to music. That's okay, I don't need one to analyze lyrics of vocal performance. You'd be surprised what an English degree can do. I've done this with Spirit Box and Bad Omens. They will be linked in the description down below. I don't think I'll be doing any full lyrical analysis here. Disclaimers, my opinions are my own. If I mispresented any information, please comment in the comments down below. Let's be respectful, not assholes. I will be talking about some stuff in the Wage War fandom and our metalcore community. I may not hold back. Trigger warnings. I will be talking about suicide, self-harm, addiction, religious extremism, and any other topic not mentioned will be on the screen right here. So, Wage War. They are a metalcore band from Florida. Yes, since 2015. They have a total of 5 albums plus a few EPs, especially one under their old name, Empires. I discovered them around 2018 maybe when I was sent a song of theirs called Don't Let Me Fade Away. I really enjoyed that song, and they were one of the first bands that introduced me to modern metalcore, especially melodic metalcore. The band was co-founded by rhythm guitarist and clean vocalist Cody Christed and lead guitarist Seth Blake. Other members include lead screaming vocalist Britton Braun, drummer Stephen Klusner, and bassist Chris Gaylord. Cody is also a songwriter, and all of his credits can be found in not only songs in his band, but also other songs as well. Here are some examples.
Something strange has a hold on me. Is it chemical?
album patterns. This won't be as big a section as I would like it to be, but I thought it'd be interesting. Now here are the 5 albums in total. Blueprints, Deadweight, Pressure, Manic, Stigma. In one of the interviews shortly after Stigma's release, I believe it was Cody who noted the pattern as well, and it seemed to be unintentional up until this point. Listen, if you like it, you like it. It's your music, you do you. Out of the 5 albums, Pressure and Stigma are the only 2 that do not have their own titular songs in the track list. Pressure was mentioned in the song Low, and I believe that was an inspiration for the song title. But is the album called Low? No, it's called Pressure, so it doesn't count. If the band chooses to go with the 2-syllable single-word title, I'm not sure what to call it for the 6th album. I mean, Word Hippo has a whole list of them. Read away. Lyrical direction. So we'll be doing a full lyrical analysis here, but we'll be pointing out not only patterns, themes, motifs, but also the direction in which these lyrics are going. So let's look at the first album. I'm going to pick 1 or 2 songs from each album and I'm going to talk about them. Keep in mind, the songs that I'm picking are not solely representative of the entire album. I encourage individual opinions, and if you'd like to read these lyrics or listen to the album, you are free to do that on your own. The River. This is one of the more memorable songs from the others in the album. The lyrics do not play around. They go straight to the point. The speaker, and I'm looking at this song as a poem, so the speaker refers to who is telling the story, is betrayed by their ex-partner because they cheated on them. We're hit with the angry, bitter, how could this happen to me, / how could you do this to me, punch kind of a feeling. And even with this bitterness, we still have a moment of wanting forgiveness, a benefit of the doubt, a chance to redeem yourself, but doesn't erase the pain and damage that this betrayal has caused them. So why still trust him? I do want to add that the basis of this song, the story behind this song, was something that happened to one of the band members in real life, like way back then, like over 10 years ago. And that adds like a personal touch to the song, as well as a humanizing. Not only this, but if we go earlier in the song, the speaker acts as if it was their fault. They were a better partner, would have stopped the infidelity. Ultimately, the speaker says that they're done. They don't want anything to do with their ex. Be gone. Heartbreak is not an uncommon theme in songs and poems, or literature in that matter. It's not uncommon in the whole metalcore, the whole metal genre, or songs in general. It is not the only topic song in Blueprints. There are other topics such as suicide, mental health, and religious hate groups. Let's talk about that. Basic Hate is probably one of the few songs in Waitrose' catalog that ever goes in this direction. Let's turn back the clock about 10 or 15 years ago. The Westboro Baptist Church. Remember that? Yeah. They were in the headlines for the wrong reasons. But then again, whatever is the right reason other than disbanding or being arrested. They were known for protesting the funerals of soldiers, LGBTQ+ community, and they did all in the name of God. He also told people that they're going to burn in hell because they did not conform with Christian standards and whatnot. There's so much shit with Christian nationalists in this country. I forget who was who. The song Basic Hate was about them, and it mostly focused on the process of soldiers' funerals. Listen, I don't expect the song to have everything, just the basic points down. Deadweight is similar in this approach. I would say it's a Blueprints 2.0, not to say it's reductive, but it's more of a more explored version of their debut. And I'll get into the impact of the first 2 albums later on. Not only do we still explore love, heartbreak, and mental health, but this album is more of a maturation of Blueprints. We also see reflections of the self. The title song speaks on that. Mirror, mirror on the wall, the man I see is at fault. Nice rhyming there. When did I become everything that I hate? Reading through the song, I don't think it's just about a relationship with someone. Yeah, it could be about a person bringing you down and you have a relationship and you have a hard time breaking up with that person because deep down you still love them. I also saw it as a relationship with a substance, like alcohol or a drug. I've had my battles with addiction in different areas. It cost me a lot of money, social interactions, any relationship I could have had, and a lot of trust. I just wanted the pain to go away. This song is about someone's lowest point in their life and doing whatever it takes just to feel something. Johnny Cash is one of the iconic songs from this album. It takes a more softer approach, yet it still has that angst, that aggressiveness. It is about heartbreak, but it's also about longing. The speaker wants to feel true love, and you want to be loved. There is a light at the end of the tunnel, just make sure there's a light switch nearby. I didn't get to the Wage War until 2018, so I had no idea the kind of atmosphere I was entering when I started listening to them. I watched a video from Jared Dines. He's a well-known guitarist in the community. I won't get into much detail. Anyways, he and a friend made a video about metalcore bands, and when it got to Wage War, Jared had described the band as a cookie cutter for the metalcore genre. I don't know if those were the exact words, but he did say cookie cutter in reference to Wage War. I thought that was ironic because a few months later, Pressure happens. Pressure is where things get a little different and the fandom starts to get a bit divided. This is where we get the I wish you went back to the music you made for your first two albums. And it's frustrating because you're not letting the band be its own thing. Not letting them explore their own sound. I don't know what happened. But this was the start of Wage War is no longer the poster child for metalcore, so we don't care. I'm not saying everyone was thinking this, but this was the general public opinion. This was something you saw in the comments. And like in Reddit posts and whatever platform there is. It's very risky to do this kind of move after the success of your first two albums, especially when those two pretty much define the sound that everyone remembers and associated you with. First single they released was Low. It was very Wage War. A bit of controversy that since many people noted that the riff in Low was similar to, if not the same, to the riff in Architect's Doomsday. I'm gonna say this. I listened to both songs. Yes, the riffs are similar. No, I do not believe that Wage War stole that riff from Architects. My god, this is like the pop music community. Never being the allegations. I'll say this, the riff is the idea. The execution should be unique, and therefore, Wage War did not steal a frickin' riff from another band. Moving on. This album was a bit controversial as it departed from the sound of the previous albums and took a more popish route, so to speak. Who I Am was still on the safe side. Me Against Myself, now that was where it took a more popish route. Needless to say, I love this album. I will always be a Wage War fan unless something happens. We don't know, and that's okay. Even though this album showed a softer side to Wage War, there are still some heavies in there, including an experimental one, so to speak. Like, Forget My Name. Ghost reminds me of As I Lay Dying, which, oh boy, do I have a video for. It is one of my favorite songs from the album, speaking of holding on to old memories or trauma and isolating yourself from everything that you know. This shines in the classic Wage War style, while also adapting their sound. Forget My Name does look like a callback to one of her songs, Johnny Cash, but there's a different approach. It's different from the music they made before. I don't know what to call it, but it's a good song in my opinion. There are some, I would say like maybe some downfalls here, like, very repetitive, very radio friendly. Grave was definitely something that played a lot. And it's not my favorite song, but it's a good song. I wanted to add that this was something I learned from a course I took on aesthetics back in grad school. And I could be paraphrasing this, I don't even remember, the source I got this from. But, it was something about, art doesn't have to be serious in order to be enjoyed. It could just be, just there for fun. There doesn't have to be any, deeper meaning to art. And, an artist's intention is not necessarily the reaction that they get from the audience. The audience can see something that the artist doesn't even see themselves. This album still stays on common topics from before, such as mental health. I feel this album has been the lowest rated in my opinion because it pales in comparison to the previous work. Manic, we are picking ourselves up in the midst of a pandemic lockdown and getting our show on the way. Since pressure left about half of the fanbase without hope or trust, Manic seemed to pave the way back. We're still hit with the heavies, High Horse, Teeth, Circles of Drain. Okay, that third one wasn't sonically heavy, but we're seeing a pattern here, right? Hopefully we're seeing a pattern here, not regurgitating the same old shit in the comments. Whatever. It is one of my favorite albums, and this album takes another approach sonically wise. We're getting a little trapped in here, I would say. A little trap metal, I mean. I did notice it was one of the shortest albums in his discography, which I'm cool with. It's slightly longer than an EP. Lyrics-wise, we're still talking about mental health, Circle of Dreams about self-reflection, and choosing to change ourselves for the better. The wolves are waiting, the hunt begins with me. Good God, I'm getting flashbacks to a certain video I made. Anachronism. We have songs about betrayal like Teeth. I will say, I love how the lyrics are not cliches. There is a creative, more visual approach when it comes to certain topics. For instance, in Teeth, we have the fatigue of the knives in the back, and a smile as a mask. Or in Relapse, we have I take one step forward and two steps back until I run out of time in the hourglass. Pretty interesting to think about. Stalling the progress of recovery because that pain made you have feeling again. Then we have Tell myself I can change, swear I'm not an addict, just in a bad habit. This is hitting deep for some of us. Stigma! Everything is on all caps here. I don't know why it is, but it is. I think with the single rollout for this one, they were playing around with discography because they know that we know that they have a wide variety, despite what the naysayers say. Magnetic came out. It was a mix of heavy and soft. Nails was interesting. It was returning to a sound they'd done with Manic and a little bit of Forget My Name and Pressure. I think Tombstone came next, or was it Blur? I forget because they each hold a unique sound, and there are approaches to this album that I like, such as lyrical content and themes. Tombstone was inspired by the film Tombstone, which is based on the true story of Wyatt Earp and Tombstone, Arizona. Great film. Rest in peace, Val Kilmer. This is one of my favorites. This song shows up the pride and remember where you came from. I do love the sound effects used of the frogs and the crocodiles or alligators. Even though I'm not a Floridian, this song does speak to me as not only a New Yorker, but a Trinidadian New Yorker. Given the current climate of global affairs and conflicts, it is startling to see how people look down on others because they're told to look down upon them. Nobody questions that, and if you do question it, you're a traitor to your country. This is applicable to several nations. Back to lyrical directions, it seems that we are drifting away from the broad topic of mental health and venturing to other realms, such as knowing your roots, film references, a little party song. This was not the same wage from over 10 years ago, and I'm so happy for that. Something else I wanted to add on was that, not every song has to be serious. It could just be as, fun and lively. It doesn't matter really the genre of the song. It could be just fun and lively in the midst of a very heated, stressful situation. Sometimes we deserve a little fun in life. Common themes, motifs, and other observations. Now that I've gone through these 5 albums, before we speculate on the 6th album, I do want to point out patterns that pan across these works. Overall, we have overlaps such as mental health, anxiety, depression, suicidal thoughts, trauma, and love. Family, friends, breakups, betrayals, yearning. And we have motifs like knives, low points, graves, just to name a few. These words that repeat, I wonder if Cody is aware of these repeating motifs or phrases. I'm not saying this to imply that he's dumb or anything. This is something I'm pointing out because as a writer, it's important to look at other people's works just to get out of your mind for a while and get a new perspective, and who knows, vice versa. Once, during a workshop, I gave feedback on one of my classmates' pieces, and when he spoke about the feedback, they did not realize the amount of times they mentioned the color, and he found that out because I would underline every time they mentioned the color. It was a little embarrassing because I'm not used to being in the spotlight like that, and for most of my life, my opinion hadn't mattered. There is something I want to talk about, and this is something I'm looking into with my novel in progress, which is about 85% at this point. As well as another set of videos I'm working on. It concerns the idea of masculinity and how a man's performance is dependent on other men's approval. I'm not the right person to answer this because I was never a man. I was thought to be a man because since I was 11 years old, I've been growing male pattern facial hair. Thank you. Every little girl wants that. Enough about me. I think about this when it comes to men talking about mental health because they're told to man up or they'll be a pansy for life. Mental health is extremely stigmatized, and it still is to this day. There is a huge double standard when it comes to men and women and everyone in between. Because you have to be in the binary, you cannot deviate from that. And it's very patriarchal, it's very misogynistic, and it's very self-hating. I have ADHD, autism, and possibly PTSD. I also have PCOS and PMDD. They are polycystic ovarian syndrome and premenstrual dysphoric disorder. Now, about PMDD, I did not realize that suicidal thoughts were not a symptom of PMS until maybe a few years ago, like 2021 or something. And I noticed that my suicidal thoughts would be very loud the week I was having my period. When I finally took birth control, those voices died out quick like a light. I'm not saying this works for every woman or person who has a uterus, but it definitely helped me. Growing up, I didn't have the best time making friends. And whenever people just stick around to be my friend, I didn't believe them. I felt like I was performing to them just to gain their approval. When I learned to stop masking, they started to like me less because I wasn't what they expected. Now I'm cool with acquaintances and such. It's a lot of work putting into a relationship. It really is. I'm still talking about wage war, right? Yes, the performance of masculinity by men for men. It's all about the patriarchy. I know, getting a little too feminist here. Can you blame a bitch? The reason why I bring this up is to show how mental illness and health problems affects a certain demographic differently than the other. You're not going to expect a white cis man to understand what a woman goes through, especially when he's a white cis man. I'm not playing that the band is ignorant or bigoted in any way. I'm presenting the scope that this band is writing their songs through and the lens that certain issues are being portrayed. There is a lot in the whole they can talk about, like the manosphere, red pill thing, alpha omega shit, male loneliness epidemic, femicide they can talk about. There is a song, and I'm gonna add this in later, and I don't know why I didn't add it in the original script, but there's a song that I listened to recently that, like, it really did, like, go into this topic a little bit, and, like, I loved it. I'm gonna attach this song later on. This is something I am exploring in a project of mine, including my novel in progress, Hollow River. The other project will soon explore in a later video is a sitcom about a metalcore band, and exploring the masculine and feminine nature of the scene. At the beginning, I said that media is political, arts is political, and they are resistance. I hope the band writes more songs in a similar vein to Basic Hate, especially considering the climate we're in. You cannot ignore this no matter how far you run. Music may be an escape, but it is a tool for resistance. The entire metal genre was a protest against organized religion and religious extremism. There are other bands that I listen to that take on this kind of topic. Icon for Hire, NSOK, Future Palace. Any other bands I forget to mention, I will add them to the screen. There is something I want to add before we head to the next section. I am cool with religion at a distance. I got a lot to unpack when it comes to religion. I was raised by a Muslim mother and a Hindu father, and I was bullied in a Catholic school for like 1 year, but it sticks with you. I do like mythology and how it connects to human history, astrology, and how it works in literature. I even once wrote a poem from the perspective of a believer losing her lover in the name of God and still maintains her faith. I had a feeling that some of the music in Wage War was heading towards a Christian influence route, considering that some of the members are Christian. I don't know about every single member. I don't want to assume. I don't want to offend. I'm cool with songs that are religiously inspired. I take it as a spiritual metaphor. Fit for a King also does this in a way. And I feel like now they're doing a more like a critique on organized religion and how Christianity is being portrayed in like, to Christian nationalists and all that.
Last week I painted it Navajo white. The week before that, antique white. Before that, eggshell white. Next week,
White?
who knows? Well, actually, Larry does. He's the one who keeps changing his mind.
Who's Larry?
God.
Excuse me?
Larry is God's first name.
6th album speculation. We have not heard anything regarding the 6th album. We do know songwriter Cody is working hard, and the band probably has something coming out for this year. Who knows? I mean, they are touring. The title may be a single word, 2 syllables. We don't know the musical direction we'll be going with. Honestly, it could be a whole jazz or bluegrass album, and I'll still enjoy it. Hell, Lady Gaga released Joanne 10 years ago, and that rocked. Of course, not every metal act is as versatile as, like, say, Poppy or Electric Cowboy. But I do appreciate Wage War exploring their sound and not staying stagnant. Some bands, I feel, are afraid to explore their sound, and there are other bands that are just all over the place, and the album doesn't feel cohesive on its own. It's very hard to be unique and stand out from the crowd, and somehow be lumped in with the rest in this category. It's a contradiction. Wage War, they've been in the scene for more than 10 years. They are not the same men they were when they wrote Blueprints and Deadweight, and we do not expect them to return to such a state. In later albums, we do hear similar sounds from their previous works. They have not departed far from the original sound. They have matured. And I hope other fans mature as well. I don't know if this album will be released either this year or next year, but we'll be seated for when a release date arrives. So just have to kick us out of the record stores for the time being. So I didn't really get to go into depth about this, but Blueprints and Deadweight set such like a standard in not only Wage War's music and like in general the fandom or the community, but also like for the modern metalcore scene of the 2010s going to 2020s. And it's such a profound effect that there's even like, I would say, like copycat bands that are trying to mimic that sound, mimic that those techniques, and like even trying to like mimic the voices of Britton and Cody. And like the thing is, you have to create your own voice before you can create your own projects. If you come out sounding like someone else that you really admire, you're never gonna find your own place in that, because you are not that person. You are your own person, and you can like name a plethora of bands that are doing this, and it's just amazing how the effect of one person ripples out through like entire like continents and everything. There's one more thing I forgot to mention, and I'm not sure if I really touched on it as well in this video. Copycat bands. I want to call them copycats, but like bands are like, emerging, entering the scene, and like they're trying, and like the vocalists try to sound like the person that they're obviously inspired by. And that's like one of the mistakes that like vocalists do, especially when they're like especially when they're like newcomers. Like they try to sound like the person they want to be, and it ends up losing any real like authenticity in their original work, because now you're only going to be thinking how this person was singing it, but not how they themselves would sing it. And this not only occurs with the Wage War, this occurs with Bad Omens. Everyone trying to sound like Noah, especially from their third album, The Death of Peace of Mind. And that next song is going to be like the next Just Pretend. Or how try to sound like Josh from formerly of As I Lay Dying, but also currently of Spirit Box. And it's especially with Spirit Box, like people are trying to sound like Courtney. And so it also expands into like how female singers are doing this as well. And it's like, you have to find your own voice before you can even like go on stage. Otherwise, you're just gonna be like left living a double identity, I hope that makes sense. I really hope it did. That is all I have for this video. If you reached this far, please add a music emoji. It could be a note or an instrument. Let's have a whole orchestra in the comments. I do encourage individual opinions, and you do not have to agree with me. My comments are open to discussion. And keep them respectful. Don't be assholes. My link tree is below in the description. You can buy my books, Constantly Escoving Death Throws via Amazon or Barnes & Noble. Every purchase counts. I also have affiliate links via Linktree. Most of the selling books I've read via Pango Books via Linktree. Make sure you hydrate and be safe. Bye!